Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Fresh off recording a video for Churchill Downs opening night. We have one of Churchill Downs' own, Kaitlin Free, here with us to talk a little bit of Hong Kong here. Joined as always as well by Matt Carlson. Sorry, Matt, you get second or third billing, I guess, in this case. But
that's higher than I normally am. So.
But Kaitlin, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Excited to, as much as I love Derby and I love this time of the year, it's good to kind of switch it up and still be keeping to my international roots and talking about some horses that I am a big fan of and some horses that we saw run in Dubai. So definitely excited to be joining you guys. And, I'd do anything for you. So.
Awesome. Yeah, it's, I literally, as soon as we started this podcast, Matt and I was like, dude, we're going to get Kaitlin on. and he was like, really? I was like, yeah. I was like, should totally do it. And I kept on waiting for like a big day, and it just like, it slipped my mind then. And then I was like, week before Derby, like this is going to be a good time because I know after Derby week, you're going to be swamped. And then after Derby, it's just like everyone needs to take a breath. Yeah. I mean, with Churchill opening back up on Saturday, I mean, are you excited for this as the season start back up and get back to it?
I am. It's been a while since I've been like actually standing reporting in a paddock because I've been at Turfway, but I've been on the desk and kind of been in the booth. So it's been about 6 months since I've done a live report. So I'm really excited. We tested all the sound in the new paddock, and honestly, it far exceeds my expectations. The sound in it, the video quality, everything is top notch, and it's way better than I expected it to be. Gonna brush up a little bit more in this year's Oaks field because I think there's a lot of surprise entrants in there, and I need to kind of watch a lot more replays back and really kind of get to know these horses, maybe watching replays back a third or a fourth time, something that I could have missed to try to do something outside of the box. But I have some strong opinions about the Derby so far, so I'm excited for both of those races and just racing in general for this entire meet.
And then I guess, not to put you too on the spot, because I know I didn't ask you this, but if I were to ask you right now who your pick for the Derby is, who would it be?
I'm between 2 to 3 horses at the moment, and I think it's really going to depend for me where a few horses draw on the field for this race. Like a horse like Fierceness he's going to be gate dependent. That's going to be his whole story, I think. So I want to see where he ends up in the gate, but I think he's a terrible bet as a favorite, so it's not going to be him. I am interested in Sierra Leone. It's going to depend on what price I can get on him is probably the second choice, but the 2 horses from a handicapping and a wagering perspective that I'm torn between is Just a Touch and Forever Young.
Nice, yeah. I was talking earlier, I was like, I have no clue. Matt, I don't know, do you have any clue right now?
No, I mean, I think it's the first year where, and it's good in a way, right? Because I do think the past couple Derbies, right? Like I've come in with some pretty, heavy preconceived notions, and I do think this year, like I'm kind of looking forward to putting in the work because I do think you could probably uncover some big prices, and whether or not they can win, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think that's exciting for me is being able to kind of, get some value out of it by putting in those replay works. But have I done that yet with 2 young kids? No. So.
Yeah. No,
I can't really think of too many horses in this race that are just like absolute tosses, but I have a lot of horses that are kind of like C's and D's. I can really only see about 4 or 5 horses actually winning the race. But I mean, as far as filling in those pieces underneath for like your tries, your supers, and your super high fives, it's going to pay.
Yeah, like when I took a first look, I'm just like, am I really going to be on these horses? And like I was talking to Caleb and Mark, and I mentioned these horses by name, and they just ridiculed me. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'm in the right spot yet.
That's a good sign. Come on.
Okay, yeah, it probably is a good sign. But like I was going back to the Door Knock and Track Phantom.
I personally, I think Track Phantom is going to outrun his odds because you're going to get a massive price. He's probably going to be 35, 40 to 1, and I mean. Very unconventional Steve move to be adding blinkers before a big race like this. I kind of like it. I mean, Steve looks at things not only from like a horse conscious perspective, he looks at looks at things kind of at a betting lens as well, because Steve is kind of a betting man. So I think it's very interesting, this equipment change he's doing. It's very unconventional, and will it make the horse settle, or will it make him faster? I think it's kind of a toss up. I don't know.
Yeah, I like it makes me not excited, but at the same time kind of excited because of all the uncertainty. So, next week I got a work conference Sunday through Wednesday. I'm coming home Wednesday night, literally waking up at like 5 a.m. Thursday and driving straight to Louisville to go to Thurby. So I'm gonna be all caffeinated up and get a couple drinks in me in a box. I'm gonna go heckle Kaitlin down in her new paddock. Last time I saw you, Kaitlin, at Churchill Downs, you were in the temporary paddock, which was basically like, I don't know.
Grass.
Yeah, was it even real grass, or was it just like fake
it's
turf?
It's turf.
Yeah.
We have turf in the new paddock too, but it's like nicer turf.
Yeah. So it was just like, yeah, it was fine, but like it was very makeshift. And I'm honestly, I'm really excited to see Churchill Downs filled, because I've been there. And not to say that they don't get people, they get a good crowd, because like I went on Downs After Dark twice, and they get a good crowd, but like the place is so huge that it
feels empty with 20,000 people in
it. Yep. And they probably get 10 to 15,000, I would guess, for like those Downs After Dark card, which for any track would love it. Huh?
Maybe more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would make any track, it would make Keeneland feel extremely packed. You can pack the same amount of people at Keeneland on a Saturday into Churchill Downs and it feels empty, just because people that haven't ever been to Churchill Downs, to compare to some of the other tracks that we have here in Kentucky and some of, the other tracks across the country, truly don't realize how big it is. And this paddock makes it feel even bigger, because it adds a complete other level of a viewing area, actually 2 levels, because there's seating all around the paddock. And then there's a whole nother level that they built right above the paddock where you can look down in it. There's tables, there's bars, there's restaurants up there. Like, more people are going to be able to enjoy a unique racing experience because of this renovation, and how much more area like it actually like opened up. So, and I think it's going to make it more, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because we're going to be able to fit more people in there, but at the same time, it's going to make it more comfortable.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So.
Yeah, for sure. Matt, have you been to Churchill before?
I have not, actually. It's high on the bucket list, but I grew up betting Saratoga, 1 month a year, and then taking 11 months off. So as a kind of as a COVID transplant, I'll call it, in a lot of ways, my track experiences are few and far between. So, but
I would recommend definitely checking it out, but not on a Derby day.
Yeah, that even like Friday Belmont was a little much for me. I'm not big on crowds, so the emptier it is, the better. So, but I got to get out there for sure.
Yeah, it's great. It's I have my personal feelings towards the company Churchill Downs, but the track itself, is it reminds me a lot of Arlington, in that it's fairly clean. There's good concessions, and like it's it's, I don't know, it's really nice. It's definitely a place you got to go. The Derby Museum is really cool. There's a lot of fun stuff there, and Louisville's just a fun town.
Yeah, it is.
It's just a cool town. I mean, my wife and I went one weekend. We stayed downtown. We went to Downs After Dark one day, and I didn't really have anything else planned, and I messed up in that case. But we were able to get into one of the bourbon distilleries. We got a reservation at Michter's downtown. We just walked downtown to the different just shops and stuff that they had. It was really cool. Met up with Ed and Mark Midland from HR Nation at their office and stuff, and so it was. We made a weekend of it. It was fun, but there's a ton of stuff to do there. Ate some really good food. Had some really great cocktails. So, we could sit here and wax poetic about Derby and Louisville, but we're going to do plenty of that over the next week. Obviously, with the full card coming out on Saturday, which is awesome. So we can start handicapping, because I know everyone just wants to dig into that card. But One card we can dig into is this Hong Kong Sha Tin card. Normally we cover the late pick 3 here on You've Gotta Be Sha Tinning Me. However, with 3 Group 1s this week, I figured we'd take a look at the Group 1 races. You know, I have a hard time looking past a lot of the favorites in these races.
100%.
I think, Matt, we've talked about this too. Some of these group races, like, you just get these absolute monsters that are in here, and it's tough to overlook them. But I mean, heck, Golden 60 has lost before, so upsets do happen, and usually at big prices. But race 5 here is going to be the Chairman's Sprint Prize. It's going to be the first Group 1 of the night, and your favorite is going to be the one California Spangle in this spot. Obviously, coming off of 2 straight Group 1 wins. Obviously, a Group 1 win here at Sha Tin, and then you actually got a pretty decent price, I think, on him in Meydan. I think he went off at 3-1. So you got a more than fair price, I think, on California Spangle in that spot. And you got a couple other really cool horses in here. The 3 Victor the Winner. You got the 4 Lucky With You has kind of come up in class the last couple times. But yeah, the 2 Mad Cool is another one that is coming here from Japan off of a Group 1 win. Has raced here in Hong Kong before. So yeah, you got a couple of ways I think you can go. But Kaitlin, as our guest, I'll let you go first. Where did you land here in race 5?
This is an interesting race, and I don't know. I need to do a little bit more maybe research, but I guess Forever Young is coming back next weekend, so it's not really as big of a difference. But does anybody else feel like California Spangle's coming back like really quick after the Dubai stuff?
Yeah, I mean it's a month, reshipping in, so that does seem. I feel like there usually is like these Hong Kong horses. I think usually do have a bit more of a break in between. What do you think, Matt?
Yes, I'm 100. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was going to say, yeah, normally you see, and I mean, especially I'm used to coming back domestically, but right, I mean, you'll see 6-7 month layoffs sometimes, and Hong Kong's probably as strict as any about kind of coming back into the country and requiring, trials and things like that. So to come back this fast does seem pretty aggressive, but
he was trialing after 2 weeks after that win, and he's coming back from a hot desert to a little bit of a cooler climate at Sha Tin. I know they've had some rain recently, so that all kind of just feels just a little weird for me on a horse like this. So I think this is probably the most vulnerable of the favorites. So I kind of looked in a different direction. I'm really interested in Mad Cool and Victor the Winner. Mad Cool, I think, is going to maybe be one of the come-up horses for Japan. I really kind of like this type of a spot for him. And I'd say Victor the Winner is probably maybe like that next rung up type of horse. Here in Hong Kong, Lucky Swainus out again. I think he and California Spangle are probably the top 2 sprinters in the world. But with California Spangle maybe not going to be on his A game because of the quick turnaround, and Lucky Swainus not in this race, I'm kind of going to default to the Japan Shippen and Victor the Winner.
What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I looked at that, and I looked real hard at Mad Cool, and I was like, oh, it's been raining all week. Like the horse seems to really take to soft ground. Now, I think the concern with that is Sha Tin's drainage is phenomenal. If I was watching Happy Valley on Wednesday, and they've gotten multiple inches of rain, and that course was still listed as good. I think they said they can drain upwards of like 8 inches of rain a day and have that course be almost completely dried out, which is insane to me. But I do think that lends itself towards probably the course being drier than Mad Cool may even want. And I also think, to me, Hong Kong, they're the best sprinters in the world because this is what they run, right? Like 99% of the races they run are one turn. And I do think they have, because of that, the best kind of colony of one turn turf horses and turf sprinters kind of across the globe. So I tried to go elsewhere. I do agree, California Spangle, I think, even if the most likely winner is going to be way over bet. So I'd want to toss that entirely. I went to a couple other horses that I've probably bet before, and I think may have a shot, depending on how the pace sets up. I kind of went to the 6, How Deep Is Your Love? And I know, kind of last out. It lost to Invincible Sage and it lost to Flying Ace. I do think it had some excuses, right? It had the wide draw. It kind of bobbled the break off that. If you watch the replay, he's caught wide, and Brent Abdullah, kind of panics around the turn, sends it 5 wide. He's coming in and really kind of loses ground because of that. And I think it misses a placing because of that. I don't think it was ever getting home to win that race. But hey, with a better trip and a better jock, right? I mean, it gets an upgraded James McDonald. It gets the rail draw now, where it had the 10 draw before. So those upgrades, I think, make me want to gravitate there from a price perspective. And that'll kind of be my primary A in the race. Just kind of looking for some value around California Spangle. A couple other horses that I liked. I do like Flying Ace a little bit out of that. I do think it got a much better trip in that race and kind of nosed out. How Deep Is Your Love? And, Zach is the best jockey in the colony, and Zach, I think, stays up here. So, I do expect a similar trip. And I think, again, with the right setup, that horse can close in and kind of have that closing kick. The third horse I do like is the 9 Mugen. And, Josh, you've heard me talk about this horse a lot. This horse was kind of the big star coming up through Class 3, right? At those 1,200 meter races, as soon as, you kind of saw him, you looked at that closing kick and you're like, this is a Group 1 horse almost. I mean, you look at the closing times and it's got that, low 22-second closing sprint, and you're like, your eyes bug out at that. That's not a Class 3 horse. That's way above. Once it moved up to Class 1, Class 2, it's been kind of running at 1,400, 1,600. I like the cutback now because of that. I think its best races are at that 1,200 configuration. And look, I think with a little bit of improvement, the horse is right there. I don't know what kind of price you get on Mugen, but, hey, it's obviously class is going to be the question. But if you get double-digit odds on a horse that's shown kind of the same ability as some of the other ones in this field, I think it could upset and have, kind of get home at a big price. So the 6 and the 9, I think, will be my A's, and Flying Aces as a B, trying to get around some of the probably shorter prices in here.
Yeah, I landed a place that Kaitlin did. I landed on the 3, Victor the Winner, and I kind of thought that this is a horse coming back here to Hong Kong, where at 1,200 meters has definitely had a couple of really nice races in the Hong Kong Sprint, and then winning the Group 1 Centenary Cup. Obviously went over to Japan, where they go the other direction. There was a lot more cut in the ground, and maybe just didn't have the go of it there. But Matt, you're talking about the horse drawn on the rail. I mean, this horse is drawn just as good. It's drawn in the 2 post, and I think is going to be. I think the draw is going to be what makes a difference here, I think that's going to have the 3 finish just in front of the 1 California Spangle. And kind of looking at this race too, I mean, Mad Cool, the race last time out, does fit here, and the race 4 back as well. But those are both in Japan. When the horse came here to Hong Kong, didn't. I don't know. I finished 8th. Took a little bit of money. Was 15-1, but that was a race that Lucky Sweenates. Was probably like 1-2 or something in. So, maybe that 15-1 doesn't really matter all that much. But yeah, I don't know. I just think this is a horse that has been here. That last time he shipped into Hong Kong didn't do the best of running. And I think with a little bit of give in the ground would be one to look at. But like you said, it's going to be hard to see this being anything less than good. So I think tables turn here. Victor the Winner wins, and you get the 1 California Spangle finishing second here. But I know it's not as entertaining as you're going real deep on this one, but.
Always love a long shot,
You love a long shot on the rail, and the low weight.
There's no weight things. Here, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's no weight. Yeah,
that's why these things tend to chalk out. But
yeah. All right, race 7 though. Return, we can call this of Golden 60 here, showing back up. We're going to be going the 1-turn mile here. Just Golden 60s, just absolutely loves this trip. Loves this course, but does have a loss. I mean, we're going back to the Hong Kong Mile last year, or actually 2 years ago, where it did lose that race. But I mean, since then has rattled off 4 Group 1 wins. I have the A written down next to it, but I think like you, Matt, for some prices here, and I got 2 horses. I think you're the 2 Voyage Bubble might, I don't know, that might not be, you might not get the price on that horse, but this is one that's got a little bit of dirtied form. I think this is one that what was going really well, going the 1600 meters, the Hong Kong Classic Cup last year. They tried stretching out a little bit, kind of, didn't run all that great with was it Jamie Kah aboard, and then they stretched it out even longer, going 2000, and ended up winning, and as soon as they immediately cut the horse back, and I think the horse started running some really nice races again, cutting back to that mile. And then they wanted to again. They started stretching this horse back out, and it didn't really go the way that I think they wanted to. And now they're coming cutting it back. And I really think that this is probably the distance the horse wants to go. I think with Golden 60 in here, you might get a bit of a price on this horse. I think this is probably the only horse that has run races that are even in the realm of what Golden 60 has run. And even looking at some of Golden 60's races that he's won, the less impressive efforts, I think some of these horses in here do run to that. So I think Voyage Bubble was one that I kind of looked at. Maybe could be a bit of a pace presence in this race. Maybe sneak up front a little bit. So I thought he was interesting. And then I also looked at the 6 Brave Emperor here. And this is a horse that's coming in very, very good form. 4 wins in the last 5 starts. And, has been in 4 different countries. France, Germany, Italy, Qatar, and now coming here to Hong Kong. So I don't think you have to worry about this horse shipping. I think this horse is just going to run his race. Is his race going to be fast enough for what the rest of these horses run? I don't know. I know the horse that he beat last time out in Qatar, Cairo, came back and ran in the Hong Kong Mile and Dubai Turf. I don't remember how well he ran in those, but I don't think he necessarily ran all that bad. So I think maybe that does make that form from that last race look okay. So I think you might get a little bit of a price on this horse. And this is a horse coming in just rattling off wins. I know none of them are Group 1s, but we've talked about it before, Matt. Sometimes these shippers come in here and just get absolutely disrespected on the odds board, and maybe you get a really, really crazy price on this horse. I mean, Golden 60 is an absolute monster, but if Golden 60 loses, the winner's going to hopefully pay quite a bit, and I think Brave Emperor might be one that could surprise at a bit of a price. Where'd you land, Kaitlin?
Well, it's going to be tough for me, honestly, to go against Golden 60 because I can see there's some chinks in the armor. He has had a little bit of an injury. They think, his career is this is going to be it for him. Maybe not this race. He may have another race or two, but he is 8 years old. But I think even a B effort from Golden 60 still beats this field. So he, out of the 3 favorites in these 3 group run races, he's the one I feel most comfortable with staying on. Not attractive from a betting angle. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a price that I think can run really well underneath of him. And that is Obambarumai coming from Japan. This horse has proven that he can travel. He's won races in Australia. He's a multiple graded stakes winner in Japan. He's still very young. He's grade 1 placed already. He won the Golden Eagle at Rose Hill Gardens. This is a true mile, 1 turn mile type of a horse, anywhere from 7 furlongs to maybe a mile and a 16th is kind of really his sweet spot. So I think he's going to fly way under the radar in this race. And I think Damian Lane is a really good fit for him too.
Matt?
Yeah, I don't think anyone beats Golden 60, to be perfectly honest, right? I mean, you say B race. I mean, I think it might have to run at C or D race to even, have somebody sniff at this point. I do think, right, like the only way that Golden 60 loses is if he's too far back and he's running way against the track. And do I think that's going to happen? No. But I do think if that is the case, right, like you might see a horse steal something on the front end. I think that's the only way Golden 60 loses. And I think, your candidates for that, Josh, like you said, I think Voyage Bubble is probably, you're likely pace in this race. I don't really know who gets the lead otherwise in here. Maybe Red Lion, the 10 sends. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think Red Lion has any chance of even hitting the board because I think, the full mile is just too far for that horse. And it's kind of shown once it gets up into group company, it really can't compete. So, it is John Size, but I do think, Red Lion's best chance is to, kind of wreck the pace and just even set it up better for Golden 60. I did kind of take a hard look at the 4 Beauty Joy, a horse again, and me, I tend to get stuck on horses and keep betting him, and Beauty Joy is probably one of them. Do I really want a deep closer that's going to out-close Golden 60? No. But hey, maybe if you get a decent enough price, that horse can, close a few lengths behind and get into the exacta. So I think the figs fit on that at least enough to, maybe warrant a play. Probably just not on top. So I don't have any, great insight here other than Golden 60 is a really good horse running its best configuration, getting the rail draw. Good luck.
One can dream, right? Let's go to the last race here. We're gonna be going the Cup, going 2,000 meters here. We've got a nice little 2-turn race, you got Romantic Warrior in here, who seems like it's gonna be probably a short price in this spot. Matt, where did you land?
Yeah, I like Romantic Warrior a lot, and that's hard to say because I've said it before. I think if Hong Kong's vulnerable in any area, it's these 2-turn races. That said, I do think I kind of went back to an effort 2 back from the 7 Nimble Nimbus, and I think looking at that race and looking how the track was playing, I think that effort might be good enough to just win here. And I think obviously it's 0 for 3 at the distance. It's drawn way worse right now. It's drawn wide in the 11 post. All that said, I think you'll get a huge price. And I do think that, kind of given the trip, given the way that track was playing really forward last time, that's kind of where I want to go as a play here. Again, to try and get a price around Romantic Warrior, just because I know, Romantic Warrior is going to be super short. I do think, it takes too much money. I think a horse like Massive Sovereign, the 11, probably takes too much money. If you see the horses run 2 races, one in Class 3 and one in a restricted, 4-year-old races, there's probably about a Class 3 race. I think that's just too much to ask, kind of step it up here. But I do think that horse takes a lot of money because you see 2 wins, you see Zach Burton. So, hey, I think
beat Galaxy Patch last time, who was a kind of an up and coming horse too, right?
Yeah. But I think Galaxy Patch, if I remember correctly, is kind of, bounced around a lot too. Yeah. Actually, I think he might even be running the race before this, and it's like 8th different. Yeah, it actually is. It's running the race before, and it's like 8th different configuration. They just throw it at every distance and hope something sticks. So, Galaxy Patches can hit the board, I guess, in any distance, but at the same time, right, it beat Galaxy Patch running 2 turns for the first time ever. So is Galaxy Patch really a 2-turn horse? Who knows? So, I kind of discount that a little bit even. And I think because of that, those horses will take a lot of money, and I just naturally want to look elsewhere. So Nimble Nimbus is going to be the play for me there. And, probably not too much else in here. I do think Romantic Warrior, is going to hit the board. I don't really like any of the shippers coming in. But, as much as I wanted to look there, I do think the Hong Kong horses do kind of stand up here. So.
Kaitlin?
I don't like Romantic Warrior at all. I've never been a Romantic Warrior fan, really. His win down in Australia actually really surprised me because I agree with Matt. I just don't really rate these two-turn Hong Kong horses very highly. And I think he's just kind of a cut below some of their really good horses. So I've never really been a Romantic Warrior fan, so I can't take him at a short price. I like Dubai Honor in here. Shipping in because shippers can easily win these races in Hong Kong, more so on like the Hong Kong international race nights. But this horse is multiple grade one place at Hong Kong, including a third in this race last year. William Haggis does a fantastic job shipping this horse all over the world. This horse won 2 grade one races in Australia last year. So this horse isn't a bad shipper, and the way he's looked on the track has really been appealing to me. This is going to be his first start of the season. So he's coming into this race extra fresh, and I like the preparation he's had. So I'm going to take Dubai Honor, and I'm going to play the devil's advocate just a little bit. I actually really like Massive Sovereign in this race. I do think there's a chance he's going to get overbet. He is coming out of a restricted race, but it was the Hong Kong Derby. And I guess the way we think about it, aren't all quote-unquote Triple Crown races for every country restricted? Because they are. The Kentucky Derby is restricted. The Preakness is restricted. But those are still very top-tier races. He's facing older horses, and he's facing some good horses. But he also beats some really good horses in that race. And horses that have come out of the Hong Kong Derby going into the QE2 here actually have really good numbers. There's been some really good horses that have came out of the Hong Kong Triple Crown races into this night. Golden 60, Designs on Rome, horses like that have gone on to be really, really nice, have won some of these 3 races that are on this night's card, really stacking up against some of the older horses. And I just think this field is kind of lacking. I think Romantic Warrior's beatable. So this is going to be kind of like an acid test for Massive Sovereign, but I think he could really be up to the task.
Yeah, I honestly, I had a tough time in this one. I had a tough time kind of deciding between the 2 Japanese horses, Zoo and Prognosis, and I had put Prognosis on top here.
Good decision.
I did see, obviously did run here last time out, and or two back, and didn't run all that well. But the race last time out, was able to win and won pretty convincingly by 5 lengths there, and just had a very, very nice, time coming out of that race. If you kind of look at the way that the last couple races have been rated, this is just a very, very consistent horse. This horse has been running, kind of the same races over and over and over again. And, while the last race here Kong wasn't good enough to beat Romantic Warrior, I don't know. I don't think that this horse is that far off of where Romantic Warrior has been running. And I think if you kind of look at Romantic Warrior and he's kind of drawn far out. I mean, I know he was last time as well, and obviously he's coming off a month layoff, but he tends to only run once every 2 months. I don't know. I thought that that Prognosis coming in here, off that next race. I don't know. I just thought that, if this horse can kind of get out of the gate a little bit better and just not be so far back, maybe it'll give him a little bit better of a chance in this race. But, I mean, he finished second at Romantic Warrior in this race last time, what was a pretty decent price. So I don't know. Maybe he can turn the tables on it. I am a little interested in Hishi Iguazu. I thought he was a little bit interesting, but I don't know if that was just me hoping a Japanese horse wins this race again.
I just think that horse is over the top. I feel like he's just in every single race and just kind of runs around there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have to go pretty far back, I think, to find a race that he's run well enough, I think, to win here. And you're talking about a race that's an additional furlong further. So, I don't know if that's necessarily. I mean, maybe he wants to go even further than this one's going. I don't know, but I don't know. I thought Prognosis is kind of a consistent horse. Has run numbers just as close to anybody else in this field as Romantic Warrior, and I mean, Romantic Warrior is going to be overbet, just period. I mean, the Hong Kong pools love their local, and you'll often get overlays on this horse. So even if Prognosis ends up being the second choice in this spot, I mean, I could see him being the second choice at like 6 or 7 to 1, you know, and maybe you get a pretty decent price on him. But yeah, I don't know. I like the 4 Prognosis here. Dude, Matt, who's the horse that I absolutely tried to make a case for in this race and I couldn't get there? You know he's in here. I think every time he's run, I think I've picked him on top the last couple times. What am I a sucker for?
I mean, you're a sucker for cheap speed, but I'm looking at who's the cheap speed in here. Sword Point?
Yep. Oh man, I tried to make a case for Sword Point so bad. I mean, I was just like, man, like, I don't know, maybe this is the time. Maybe he just gets out there and he just goes. But man, I couldn't even get to that point. But
I'm just gonna start coming up with my own figs for you and just writing like E8 next to horses and stuff.
Yeah, right. I just need the Brisnet. I need the Brisnet pace numbers in here on these PPs. But I don't know. These are good races. These you know, I think anytime you can see horses like Golden 60, you know, run, you know, even if they're not necessarily great like betting races. I mean, just seeing them run. I mean, Beauty Generation was the same way.
Oh my gosh, I love that horse.
And, you know, eventually Beauty Generation, Father Time caught up to Beauty Generation. And maybe this is the time that, you know, I think we were talking, this is the final year that Golden 60 can run, I think. And
yeah, and I don't think, and because he's bred in the Southern Hemisphere, he's not going to be eligible to run in the races the back half of the year. So, I mean, he's got 2 more races at the most.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see if they end up, you know, shipping him anywhere to try to run him more. But, you know, his Hong Kong career is coming to an end. But he hasn't slowed down. I know that after he finished second a couple, was it like 5 or 6 races back, like 2 years ago, we were like, everyone's like, oh, well, here's the downturn. And he just came right back and started firing. So, but, you know, that's the cool thing about Hong Kong. Because they're all geldings, you see these horses run. You know, you get to actually follow these horses and you see them run. And with it being a smaller contingent of horses, I mean, Matt's got a way better memory for me, but he'd be like, yeah, you picked this horse, you know, 7 weeks ago. And I'm just like, I don't even remember this horse be running. Like, and he's like, yeah, he's like, you liked this horse last time. So, yeah, like you get horses that run every 5-6 weeks, and you can actually become a fan of a horse and see it run, which is really cool.
There used to be, like 10 years ago, this kind of feels like the Hong Kong, maybe from like 10 years ago, there was some really, really nice caliber horses, Signs on Rome, Able Friend, that ran in Hong Kong that were just so fun to follow. Lord Kinaloa would go there for Japan and run. There's one that's a sprinter whose name is Peniophobia. He was around for a long time too. So there were some really fun Hong Kong horses to follow, and like Lucky Suenas, California Spangle, Golden 60. You brought up Beauty Generation. They remind me a lot of those horses that like kind of first got me into international racing. So I'm getting kind of really big on Hong Kong again.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. Matt, anything else on this card? I don't know if you've had a chance to look at anything else in here.
No, not yet. I'll dive in, I'm sure, over the next day or so and come up with something. So.
Yeah, and I know you'll have your full card picks on your Twitter at Slow and Steadied. Obviously, I am at Cherry Drank. Kaitlin, you're at Kaitlin E Free. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously on thewronglead.com at wrong_lead. Good luck in the Derby. Good luck at Hong Kong. And let's make some money, guys.